Yes.
That's just dead sexy, right?
Dead sexy. That's right. That's what we are on this beautiful Thursday morning. It is another episode of the RoadFS Podcast. So,
And you guys are all lucky that we're actually here today because in Boise, Idaho, this is one of my favorite times of the year. It's when it creeps up above 60 degrees.
yes.
When we're in the 70s, man, this is the most beautiful place on the planet.
Yeah, and that means on Saturday the boat is going out. My daughter reached out on Monday and she said, "Hey, Dad, you know it's almost 80 this weekend." I'm like, "Yeah, I already."
It is.
The boat is out, ready to go. I got new upholstery on the back platform. So yes, we are ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
And speaking of rocking and rolling, we have a rock star with us today. His name is Mr. Grant, not just Jerry. It's Mr. Grant. So he owns a little detail shop called MR Detail Werks. Welcome. Excited to have you this morning.
I appreciate the opportunity, guys. And might I say today is a national holiday, right? It's kind of like George Washington's birthday, Abraham Lincoln's birthday.
I know
It is. And let's take a
let's
pause
just
for a
say
second.
It's Old Dude's Day.
We don't do cake for Jody because everybody knows he works out. This has been washed. So
Oh, that's funny. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, he even brought a candle. That's awesome. So yes.
there you go.
So
Happy birthday, Mr. Sedrick.
yeah, but we should like that. So anyway,
Yeah.
So yeah, my siblings. So I'm actually the oldest of 8, and so this morning the younger siblings, Mike and Jeremy, went, "Hey man, how's it feel to be an old man?" I'm like, "Nope, one more year. I'm on the eve of being old." So in Jody's mind, and I'll admit that, in Jody's mind, old starts at 60. So I'm not quite there, but I'm getting dang close.
My grandfather, when he turned 90, he said, apparently now I'm a senior citizen. So
Teetering on the edge there, huh?
that's right. So somebody that's much younger than that, Mr.
I
Jerry.
know. It's like
Let's talk about where you're at, Jerry, and how you got to where you're at, in the industry.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been. And when you introduced me as MR Detail Werks, and that's fine and dandy. My actual the business name is MR Detail Werks, and the reason for that is for my 2 daughters, Maddie and Reese. But I did it kind of for that reason that people could consider it MR Detail Werks. But it's actually MR Detail Werks, like I said, for them. I started my business, right at almost exactly 4 years ago. And I've been full-time for exactly 3 years now. So
4 years.
Nice.
Wow, that's awesome. So what were you doing before, and what motivated you to move into this whole new career path?
yeah, so I started my journey working for my father-in-law at a local plumbing company here in Southern Indiana. I became a licensed master plumber here, and I worked in the plumbing industry for about 6 or 7 years before I actually started detailing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was the service manager of that company, and I oversaw about 30 employees and was responsible for their sales, their just everything in general, pretty much, just the general sales manager. And so it was an adventure. It was a good start. I learned a lot about customer service doing that. And then I went to work. Right after that, I decided I wanted to get out of not necessarily the plumbing industry, but get outside of the service industry. So I went to work for one of their suppliers. I worked for them for about 3 or 4 years. I learned a ton about sales through those guys. They were a very good company to work for. But I wanted to get out from managing employees to becoming an employee. And so I went to work for them for about 3 or 4 years, and I opened my business kind of as a side gig. My wife, she worked a full-time job as well. She worked for the plumbing company, and she started a little shop boutique, like cups, crafts, that sort of thing, just to make a little extra side money and some money for Christmas that was coming up. So I was helping her do that, and one day she was like, why don't you start something else? Why don't you go get out of my hair and go do something that you really like to do and get you away from me, and you can go do your thing. And detailing's always been a hobby of mine. I always loved cleaning cars, boats, RVs with my dad when I was younger, and cleaning my own vehicles, which I don't do now because I don't have time.
Yeah, and I think there's a valuable lesson in there is that don't think that pissing off your wife can't make you successul, because you just learned right there. You bug your wife enough, you start a business. So, honey, when I get home,
Yeah. So like I said, I always liked cleaning my own stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do friends and family, make a quick little Facebook page, nothing crazy. I went out bought about $400 or $500 worth of chemicals from chemical guys, Adams, like we all start doing pretty much whenever we start out. And it just grew from there so that was August of 2020. Within about 7 months, I decided that I was ready. I was doing it every night and every weekend, and that's not what I started it for. I started it as a side gig, and it quickly grew out of that. So, like I said, my daughters, I made a promise to them, like, look, I'm going to start something, but I'm going to dedicate my time to you guys. This is the reason I'm doing this. Is what I'm doing is for my wife and my kids, to provide a good life for them. And they weren't getting to see me much. They would come out and help me in the garage, but who wants to spend time with dad out in the garage working on the car? So I made the decision to go full time, and I've not looked back in 3 years. It's been crazy.
So I want to go back to something that you talked about. You got out of plumbing to avoid customer service, and yet you're back in detailing that is very customer service focused. So how are you balancing that dynamic?
Yeah. So it's a different side of that customer service. It wasn't necessarily the customer service that I wanted to get out of. It was the fact that I didn't want to be dependent on somebody else doing their job affecting mine.
Right.
So I like I said, I've been in the customer service industry for pretty much my entire life, since I was 15, 16 years old. That's something that I've always been in. So it's not necessarily the customer service side. It's the managing the employees that affects that customer service that I wanted to get away from and do more of, like, my thing, me be responsible for me. At the end of the day, I can't say, well, Joe didn't do his job and it falls back on me. I didn't do my job, so now it's on me. And I can take ownership of that.
Yep. And I see a lot of people do that. Couple of things. One thing I will mention there is just your desire to be kind of in control of your own destiny, if you will. That's sort of that entrepreneurial thing that drives all of us that own our own business. Two things that came out a couple of days ago. There was some stuff that came out about people that are ADD being entrepreneurs, and I posted something. But if you go look at the IDA's website, the newsletter that you got this week from the IDA, and read an article that I wrote in December, they reposted it because there's so many people in the happy birthday,
whatever,
blah blah freaking
blah blah blah. I got it.
So that, I think, the entrepreneurial and people wanting to be in control of themselves and not have somebody else push them. My wife asked me years ago when we started this business, she's like, why would you want to do that? I was in corporate for a while, and I was like, because every single day somebody else controlled whether I was there or not. Mm-hmm. And now we control whether or not we stay in business. We just have to work harder and do more and be stubborn and all that stuff. So you now got your shop. Where are you at home shop, or you have an external shop, or?
Yeah, so I'm pretty fortunate. My garage, I have a 40 by 70 3-bay garage that I work out of.
Wow,
that's nice.
Got about another 1,200 square foot showroom office space here that it worked out. It was a pool house of ours that we kind of converted into my shop, and my front door my back door is about 50 feet from my office door here.
Yeah, nice. I saw the picture of you out unveiling the pool, and I'm like, dude, I need a pool.
Well, you
And
got a big enough yard. We can come
I
dig it
do.
out.
We
And the
could.
excavation is the hardest part. I know how to do that.
I know.
Yeah. I'm pretty fortunate. Like I said, it kind of worked out that I'm here. I get to put my kids on the bus every morning. I get to get them off the bus. So I'm right here. My grandparents are next door to me. They live directly in the house right across the way here. And then my father-in-law has a barn dominium in the back of the property that I do all my wash bay stuff up there. So I'm blessed, man. I couldn't have asked for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It really is cool.
So how are you balancing, right, with your business being right in your house?
Mhm.
How are you separating business from family?
I'm setting boundaries. Like I said, when I started this business, I was doing it nights and weekends, which I no longer do. I do occasionally have weekends that come up where we've got nothing going on, that I can kind of detail if I want to. But that's very, very few and far between. I can count probably on one hand how many times a year that I work nights and weekends. And it's just setting those boundaries, setting that, like, look, this is why I'm doing this, was for my kids. So my time is after 5 o'clock is with them. And if I get done that day, great. If not, and I have to go into the next day, it is what it is. But just setting those boundaries and have it so that way you can have that freedom to set those boundaries.
Yeah, and I think that's a key to any part of your business is people. I think too often people will get in trouble in one way or another, whether that's get into a vehicle or a boat or a plane or something that's over their head, or they will get in trouble with their family the same way. It's setting those boundaries, and you can do that in your personal life and in your business. And I think you think about it, you can go really high level, right? Get all philosophical here.
Yeah.
People getting in trouble with their own personal lives with boundaries, drugs, alcohol, affairs, whatever it is, overextending yourself, you start working out so much, and pretty soon you're 28 years old and you look like that.
I know, man. What's up?
So, by the way, Steve Thompson, I'm not lying. I wasn't lying when it was my mother's birthday this week as well. So, big shout out to my mama.
Yeah, she's 80, right? She's
80 years old. She drives a jacked up Jeep with custom rims and nice bumpers, and she's had Jeeps for her entire life. She did not lie. I used to have hair. I did have hair.
I've actually seen a picture with Rod with hair.
Yeah.
So it looks kind of weird.
Whoa.
What
did you? Whoa. So we're zooming in. Anyway, so I think that's a really important thing there, setting boundaries on every part of your life. And that's the same with the crowds you run with, right? You start running with the wrong crowd, and if you don't set boundaries, then they're going to walk all over you.
Well, and that's one thing, like, I've learned from part of the crowd that I run with. I'm part of the Detail Mafia, and my mentor, Justin Labato, that's one thing that I've learned about him is that he sets boundaries. He sets things, if he's got an event that he's got to go to, but he's got his kid's birthday or something, he's going to stay with his kid for his kid's birthday. And that's just something that I've learned from him, and being part of that group is like setting those boundaries and sticking to them, So
and that's really the way it comes down to is we've had to do that in our business, in your personal life, and then you've got to have clear-cut ways of doing that. In your business, for instance, if you set a boundary that if you miss an appointment, you're going to keep a deposit, you do that. You don't have to second guess those decisions. There's a infamous story of Jody and I turning down a custom software deal from a very, very, very large company. I'm not going to mention who it is because they're huge, but they are one of the largest .coms in the world.
Well, they were at one time, yeah.
And we turned them down because we had boundaries, and we were like, nope. And their guy's like, do you know what you're turning down? And I said, yeah, and we were super happy about it. So don't ever fault. You've got to have those boundaries. I mean,
I think one of the things that especially new business owners struggle with is setting those boundaries, right? One, because they're so hungry, they're trying to build their business. They're worried about the paycheck. They're worried about providing a great service to their customers. And I think one of the keys to establishing boundaries is setting the expectations of for your customers, because we all know that you can get a boat or a project car or something like that that can kick you in the butt, right? And if you don't have the discipline and the humility to call up the customer and go, you know what? This is going to take me a little longer. I always tell our team, Rod and I always tell our team, look, I would rather give a customer bad news sooner rather than later, because then you can manage the expectations. Because a lot of times it really comes down to expectations. And it's when you send your customer into a black hole that you get into trouble.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that the key to that in detailing is setting those expectations and those boundaries up front, right? And those things are interchangeable. You can talk about expectations or boundaries, but it's the same thing. If I tell, you bring a car in and it's completely hammered, and I say, some of these are not going to come all the way out, right? You feel it with your finger. You're like, this is down into the primer. I'm not going to be able to take that one out. And somebody's like, well, could you try? I mean, can you go a little further? And you're like, look, it's 1 mil. I can't polish on. Just try. You got to set those boundaries and say, I will not polish a car when it's below this level. I absolutely won't. It's not good for me and it's not good for you. And when I burn through the paint, then somebody's got to repaint it. So I think that's really, that's kind of a metaphor for life. I'm getting pretty damn philosophical. I don't know what the deal is with that.
What is that, man? You act like it's your birthday. I got to go up on the hill and get all philosophical, knowledgeable, dude. The guru on the hill.
That's right. So, when you are at your shop, how do you deal with those situations? Like, let's say that somebody brings in something and it's beyond your abilities, or it's right at that borderline. How do you deal with that?
You communicate it on the front end. Communication. And that's a big thing for me, is you let them know up front, look, I may not be as experienced as this, but I've got a group behind me that is, and I can get that information that I need. It happened to me this week. I'm doing this project truck, and I'll be the very first person to tell you I'm not a very experienced metal polisher. It's something that I've started putting my feet into a little bit here and there. But the guy wanted his wheels polished, and I could have easily been like, yeah, I can do it, and probably maybe figured it out. But I reached out to a guy here locally that I know that's what he does. That is all he does, is aluminum polishing, metal polishing. So I reached out to him. I'm like, man, can you help me out with this? He's wanting these wheels polished up on the truck. I'm not as experienced in it. You are. Can you show me, or can you help me with this truck? And that way we help to get the customer kind of what they're looking for. And he was like, we'll schedule it. And he came and did it here at my shop, and it worked out. So like I said, I'm not as experienced in that field, but I was quick to say, like, look, I'm going to find somebody that is, and learn from them and have them help me. So that was the scenario yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. It's we all set boundaries. I have to set a boundary every time Jody and I travel for the last 15 years.
I know you're
no spooning, dude. No spooning.
I think you got that reversed. You and Ben are always trying to spoon. So stay over there.
And so I think that's also good to have a partner that you can fall back on. And I think that is something that people right there, just your ability to reach out. A lot of times, and I'm going to say guys, just because stereotypically guys are this way, we won't reach out for help, right? And that's about the time that whatever you're trying to put up on the ladder falls off, or you break your back because you're lifting something too heavy, or you end up screwing up somebody's car because you don't know how to reach out.
Because our egos are too big to say that, look, I can do this, I can do it, even though in the back of our mind we're thinking we can't. We're trying to be this person, trying to prove something that we don't need to do. And I could have tried to polish that truck or those wheels, and I know I couldn't have done as good of a job as he did for me. But it's like knowing that, like, my ego is in check. Like I can't do this, so I'm going to reach out to somebody that I know can and can help me, and just recognizing that it's probably saved me a ton of headache that I didn't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a time and place for experimenting, right? I mean, if I've got an old truck of my own and I'm like, I want to learn how to polish these wheels, you do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tate.
Thank you, Tate.
Yeah. Yeah. Tate reached out to us and we helped him work on a car, and he was in a situation where he needed some help and we helped him out. But I think that's the key, is when you reach out to somebody, and we've all done it, right? I mean, I joke a lot, but I'm gonna get. God, I'm just.
What is wrong with you today?
Let me get all
man?
philosophical today. But Jody and I've known Jody for over 30 years.
Forever.
And I honestly, I would say Jody is one of the most caring people I've ever met. He is exactly what you see on the internet. He is that nice. He would help out anybody. If somebody called him on the phone right now and said, can you drop everything you're doing and drive 3.5 hours
and
to
so
come help
would
me
you.
pick something
and
up?
so
Well,
would
yes,
you.
That's true. But I think that's the key, is surrounding yourself with good people. And Jody and I have done some crazy stuff together over the last year.
Yes, we have.
You know, we've replaced engines in old dirty vans. We've worked on boats and cars and airplanes and done stuff that we probably never should have done. But I think that is the key, is surrounding yourself with people that you know, like, and you trust, and you know have your back, right?
Yeah. And another example of that happened this weekend. I was doing an Aegis job, and it had been a few months since I did that. So I reached out to Ryan Griggs.
Ryan's great.
Ryan is a phenomenal guy. If you saw what he did for me this morning, dude, I've known that guy since MTE. We just met at MTE, and I couldn't thank him more for what he did for me this morning by supporting my two girls and sponsoring their cheer. I mean, that dude, I've known the guy for 6 months or 5-6 months now. And when I put that post up, I wasn't expecting anything, but he reached out within 10 minutes and was like, man, I want to support you guys. And it's stuff like that. You know, I reached out to him over the weekend. I had a question about Aegis, and he was quick to respond with, whatever you need, I got you.
I will say that about the Aegis team. If you have a problem, anybody on that Aegis team, Mike Carlin, Dustin Jackson, Ryan Griggs, yeah, you know, I got to give him his props.
But
I mean, dude, they are so good about, hey, dude, what I saw a post on them on their Facebook the other day. What about scaling? You know, do I need to pull it all off? And dude, they just jumped in right away, and they, you know, they were giving tips and help. And I think that's really important, right? Is creating an environment. And there are great groups, you know, that are doing everything they can to create solid environments where people can get the help, the support, the knowledge. I mean, you got the Mafia, you got the Detailers of the Round Table, you got Josh Hernandez with, you know, ADA. Creating the ADA and the IDA. There's so many great opportunities found in people that are trying to elevate the game and are doing what they can to put the egos in check and go, all right, you know what, we're here to help. Because when you help, you inevitably elevate the entire industry, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the key. Is, I mean, I don't know why my brain works this way, but if you recall back several years ago, Bud Light had this commercial where they're like, real man of genius. And it's like, we need to have that again, where there's like real people of genius or real people of hero, and you can just name them off. And there's so many of them. We have, you know, for everybody that talks about how negative the detailing industry is, there are some unbelievably positive places and people that Jody and I have met that we just shake our heads. I mean, all over the world, actually. And dude, there's just, it's amazing. The groups, the New Generation Detailers, the group that Rigo Santana has put together. I have never seen a group positively impact somebody while they're detailing. There's a person detailing at the Peterson Automotive Museum, arguably the biggest collection of the most expensive cars in the world, right? It's so many cars that are worth money. And there's people detailing a car, and they're encouraging. They're telling him, don't listen to the negative stuff. Stay in your lane. Be positive. Train yourself. And they're doing this over and over and over. It's unbelievable. So find the groups that are good and positive and don't have all the BS in them.
Yeah.
And that is, I think that's the key to doing it, is just, like you said, you just meet solid people and stay with them. Don't listen to the negative garbage.
Yeah, and there's a lot, and the plumbing industry was full of that egos and people trade secrets, and it was like everybody was so cutthroat, like they'd cut your throat off to get to the customer that you were trying to serve. And when I came into the detailing industry, it is nothing like that. And I hear a lot about the negative side of it, and I see it here and there, but it's few and far between. I would say 90 to 95% of the people in this industry are truly out to help one another. And so I surround myself with those 90% of those people, and the 10%.
I'll ignore you.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it, is just ignore it, because you can't listen to that stuff. And I think that's the key, is staying out of the fringe and not getting into it. If you're in those circles and you're like, man, everybody I talk to is negative, that you need to get some new
stay as far away from the negative energy, negativity as I can. I'll tell you, like I got no room for it with what I've got going on within I stay as far away from that as possible.
Yeah. And I'm too busy trying to succeed to get caught up in that. We had a really, honestly,
dude,
I've got bigger problems within my own stuff that I'm trying to figure out myself. I don't need anything else from the outside coming in to
and the thing is I'm like you. I've got, all of us, we've all got kids. I have had more. I mean, my 3-year-old is more mature than some people. And when she was 3 years old, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with anybody that's less mature than a 3-year-old. You can just have it. Just go off and do whatever you're going to do.
So I got a question for you. You've been in business 4 years, right? 3 officially. Looking back, what are some things that maybe caught you, that you learned, that you think would be helpful for other new business owners or even growing business owners?
Education. Like I said, I within the first, I would say 2 years. Yeah, it's been 2 years of starting my business. I wanted to do these trainings. I wanted to learn as much as I can, and I think education is a big key to that. Going out to Rennie's 5-day training really changed my outlook on my business, my personal life, and that's why I'm such a big proponent of his trainings and the Detail Mafia. Because those guys have done so much for me, and I get emotional every time I talk about it, because it really did change my life. Like when I went out there, I was struggling with my first 2 years, and I still struggle. And one thing that I would say is, like, own your failures, own your struggles, and own your mistakes, because I think a big part of success is failure. I think you have to fail before you can succeed, in my personal opinion. And I fail daily. There's little things that I do each day, but it's learning from those failures to propel you to that next level. But within the first 2 years, I struggled a lot, and I was really struggling. So when I went out to Rennie's 5-day training, my self-confidence, my confidence in myself was built by Rennie and the other guys that were out there, because that was something I was struggling with, was like, man, is what I'm doing, is it good enough? Like, is this and just by going out there and gaining that, it was life-changing for me. Like I said, I was in a dark place when I went out there, both personally and on the business side, and a light switch went off when I was out there. So,
I can't overemphasize the education thing. And it's funny, I saw a post the other day, and somebody was being negative about, why are all these people offering these education? And the reason why is because they're full. They're full. All of them. Rennie's classes are full. The ADA's classes, it's sold out. The June airplane training ADA sold out. They're already booked in September. The detailers of the roundtable sold out every time. Mike Phillips, Rupez, we were at the Rupez Training Center a couple of weeks ago, and they literally told us, they said, we cannot allow one more person in the building because we've exceeded fire code. We literally booked the entire place out. So education is the key, continuously. And as far as you were saying, own your failures. I think that is probably one of the biggest things that people don't understand what you mean by that. And I think you have to look at it. Think about it this way. When you were a toddler, you had to fall down to learn how to walk. It was absolutely premier in the ability to walk is to fall down and learn how to get up. That is one of the over and over and over. I actually have a thing in my shop called the wall of shame. And I put on that wall, I have all kinds of stuff. I'll put other people's stuff up there to remind me not to fail, but like really, really, really crappy welds that broke. I have a piece of a transmission, a brand new transmission that I torqued, and I know how to do it. I've done it for 100 years to go around and make sure all the bolts, and so it goes in evenly, and I didn't, and I snapped the edge of a transmission. It cost me thousands of dollars because I broke the casing of a transmission. It's hanging on the wall. Not to beat myself up, but to remind me to do things the right way. So own your failures. And that is absolutely any multi-millionaire, billionaire will tell you, you have to go capitalize on your mistakes and learn better. So
dude, you're like just breathing philosophy today.
I'm gonna write a book.
Like,
it's gonna be Rod's philosophy on life, and it's gonna be things like don't be a douche. No.
Well, and I think your example of a toddler learning how to walk,
right?
There's an imagery, and it's funny because I was thinking about the exact same thing, and you started talking about it. But there's something interesting that if you watch a toddler learn how to walk, when he falls, he either falls forward or he wobbles and falls on his butt. Right? He falls where he is. And I think a lot of times we look at failure as us stepping backwards, but really, even if we fall on our butt right where we're at, it's an opportunity to assess, to reset, to regain our courage and our focus and climb back up. Yeah. And then take those steps, right? So the key to failure is it's about falling forward, not falling backwards. Right. And even sometimes, I mean, you got to take a step backwards, because I think a lot of times we as business owners, we try to skip steps. And when you try to skip, you inevitably have to revisit those steps that you tried to leap over.
Yep.
Because you got to have that foundation in place for you to build.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny because if you take that analogy even further, when we all have a kid, and when the child falls, you don't go over and give them some thing that doesn't allow them to learn. You tell them they're okay, and you tell them to try again.
God, you suck, man. You really suck at trying.
And yeah, this is ridiculous.
God, I can't believe you didn't get it the first time. Come on, dude.
And so I think that is a key, is when you watch your life and you relate it back to that. That's how you are in life. You try and you fail, and you try and you fail, or you not even necessarily fail, but you just don't go as far as you want to go.
Yeah.
And you reinvent yourself. And I think that is, you've done that. You talked about it. You were in the plumbing industry. You've managed 30 people. I mean, you just look at that on a resume. You probably could have went to 100 different plumbing companies and became the manager or whatever you wanted to be. But instead, you reinvented yourself because of the goals you had. So that's not a failure. That's a reinvention of yourself, and it's a weaving and a moving. Yeah. There's an old video game, and this is what I've told my kids this forever. They hate this analogy. But there's an old video game, and you see the screen, right? And it's the size of our little window we have here. And there's ladders coming down, and you had to climb up the ladder, and you had to move over because you didn't know when the ladder was going to end. And the whole idea of the game is to move back and forth and keep going up. That's life. There's ladders that are going to end, and you just grab a new ladder and go, So
yeah,
there you go. Reinvent yourself.
So yeah, you were thinking something. A couple times you almost said something. So I want to give you an opportunity to.
Well, like you said, going back to that analogy of the kid that's falling down and getting back up, it's having somebody there to help pick you up when you need it too. Not every time, are you going to go over and somebody, going to coddle you and to tell you, or to tell you suck or whatever, but you've got somebody there that will help you up when you need it, and will pick you up. You know, like I said, if you're a parent, you're going to want to go over and pick that kid up and help them out. But it's the same thing with our business. We know we have people that are surrounding us stuff that'll pick us up when we need it. So surrounding yourself with those people is
Yeah,
That's awesome.
you know, we set up a two. I don't even know how long ago it was. Jody and I travel so much I can't even remember which way's up. But we were in Kentucky setting up this large dealership, Dan Cummins Group in Kentucky, in Lexington and Paris. And there's a gentleman there named Travis, and he's a really great guy. We met him there, and he's awesome. But one of the things is that every time he calls me, which people are going to call you, he calls me and he apologizes. Sorry to keep bugging you. Sorry I wasted your time. And I keep telling him over and over, that's what I'm here for. I'm your support group for your software. Do not apologize for calling.
We're here for you guys.
That's what we're here
for. Isn't Paul Kane up there? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Paul Kane is definitely up there.
Yeah,
He's
we
one of the
were with
dealership.
Paul and Travis.
You talk about real American heroes. Paul Kane right there. He's on that list.
That guy is awesome.
So there's a lot of people on that list.
Yeah, we had a great time. So it's fun rolling out their operation on RoadFS. And, you know, it's really fun because, you know, Rod and I, like you guys see, we're everywhere, whether we're supporting an industry event or we're out at customers. You know, it's just really important for us to be engaged and trying to be a part, because every time we go somewhere, we either meet great people or we learn something that we didn't know, or we come back with new ideas. And usually it's all three. And, you know, it's been a really fun journey, and 2024 is not slowing down.
Oh no!
I mean,
and there's things we do. We volunteer to go do stuff just because it's fun. Sydney Bray Gwynn from iWatch Detailing here in Boise has one of the most phenomenal car shows I've ever seen. 300 plus cars.
It's awesome.
It's in this massive
June 15th, baby.
We volunteer for it simply two reasons. One, because we really enjoy being around Sydney and her positivity and her group. And two, because it's a super fun car show. So we just go and do it for fun.
It's fun.
We don't care. We're not there to make money.
Yeah.
We're there to have fun. I'm actually there to yell at people and tell them where to park their cars. So. Oh no, not this guy.
Ryan Griggs. Yes, I already did that one.
Do it again.
Leave
it up there.
All right.
Leave it up there.
Oh gosh, man. Rod needs his ego stroked, man. What's up with that? So
hey man, that's what I need.
All right. Well, cool, man. Well, dude, we have really enjoyed the conversation. So if people are in the Indiana area, how do they get connected with you?
So like I said, I'm right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the social media platforms. Reach out to me. My phone number is my cell phone. It's all over my website.
It's down below right now.
Yeah, I mean, reach out to me. I am more than happy to build. That's one thing that is one of my goals. Is one of my long-term goals is to help somebody further their business. I've got it written on my whiteboard is to be a mentor to somebody and to build somebody up. And you know, just that's something that I really want to do, is to help people out that have helped me along my way, because I couldn't have been where I'm at without the people in this industry helping me away. So if I could be that for somebody, then
And that's the key. I love that, because the key is get up to where you want to be and then help the next person up. You know,
help somebody up that can go further than me.
That's awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
So I have a question. I got ADD distracted, right? I literally saw Rod's hand go over to his knife. Not that I was fearing for my life or anything, but I just saw on the other side of the knife, I see the box. So it got me thinking about this box. So Rod, what's going on with the box?
Well, our good friend Alex Russell from the Detail Solutions Podcast, little wiki. So Aaron Knox, we got this from Aaron Knox, and it is a Caranuba wax that we purchased, and we are number 6 of 50 because I wanted to be part of this in a big way. So look at that.
I
You
got
got
both of
both of
those
them.
guys right here.
We're going to have some fun with this, and here's what's going to happen. I alluded to this the other day in a live, but we're going to allude to this a little more. We are going to give this away. We're going to have Aaron Knox on the show, and the day that we have Aaron Knox on the show, we're going to give it away. And here's how it's going to be given away. From May 1st through the day that we have Aaron Knox on there, we're going to look at everyone that goes out and subscribes to our YouTube channel or get somebody else to subscribe. So if Jerry goes out and has his wife subscribe and says, hey, I had my wife subscribe to your channel, then we're going to keep track of that. Whoever does that, we are going to have from that group of people is going to get this hand-signed number 6 of 50.
Number 6 of 50.
And I've been huffing it all the time. So.
It smells really good.
both of them smell really good, but here's the thing: like, if I were to win it, like, I don't need any more Alex Russell in my life. I got plenty of him right here. So yeah, that's one.
Right, you have somebody else. You have somebody else. Subscribe to the channel, and you'll get some. So we're gonna give that away. Nobody gets the Thug Life keychain. We're keeping that forever.
Keeping that. That's cool.
You know, we got to have a little Alex Russell in our life. And we do have a little Alex Russell in our life.
I wish I could have found one of those bathing suits and worn that today.
Oh my God. I would have left.
That would have been funny.
Yeah, no. So anyway, that's what we're doing with that. Please go out and do that. Like, subscribe, send us a message on Facebook. Tell us you subscribe. We'll know if you personally subscribe. If you have somebody else subscribe, let us know. We're going to be giving this away. We'll have Aaron Knox on. It ought to be wild. Look up Jerry if you're in the Indiana area, or even if you're not. You have a big following on Facebook. Lots of hats you wear, literally. So go take a look at that, and then tune in every single week for something fun that we're doing. We are here all of May.
I won't be next week.
Oh, Jody.
So it's just Rod. Just me. So.
Rod.
Just Rod.
Rod.
Who knows? Maybe that'll be the Aaron Knox event. So it's going to be fun. So, I had a death in the family, and so I will be at a Life Memorial Day next week, celebrating the life of my second mom. So that's where I will be next weekend, and then the following week I'll be around. So yes, and then June, we're on the road again.
We're on the road again.
We're
it's Willie Nelson without the hair and the weed.
That's right. Really?
Well, I got to say that. I mean, what am I going to say? Yeah, Jody and I are going to get stoned and drive around. No.
So, all right, I'm not going on that trip. I'm joking.
Literally. All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Terry, thanks for coming on. We really, we've watched what you've been doing, and we really like the direction you're going, and I appreciate your insight, and for whatever reason, I was philosophical today, and you spawned that. So thanks for that.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and tell my story. And like I said, if I could help one person out, be in a spot that I was in, then that's my day's made.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tapping in, and we will check you same time, same bad channel just next week. See ya.